So for me, being a kid that grew up on the farm, to me, being a farmer isn't something that is a job for me. It's not something that is hard for me to do. It is something that I'm passionate about, and I've been passionate about it my whole life. I've grown up in it. I've been able to, have growth, and, you start out as watering and graining calves, and then you grow and you can start driving tractors. You can start doing other things, and you can become more dependent and, responsible for certain things. And so for me, it's more of a passion than it is a job.
I got started when I was just a little kid, and my grandpa had the farm. And he'd give me 25 cents to help him feed the calves. That's what he had to do, is feed the calves. And then in the winter, we'd go into his shanty, and he'd build a fire, and we'd sit around the fire.
So for me, it depends on the season, obviously, and the weather. So on the farm, this is a dairy farm, and so there's obviously, you got to feed the cows, you got to milk the cows, you got to feed the calves, take care of them. My big job on the farm during the winter time is hauling manure. So in order to do that, you have to get your tractor, obviously, load it with the cow manure, and then take it to the fields and spread it. When you have the winter time to take care of the cows, it really helps you to be able to recoup and be able to be ready for the summer and spring and fall seasons. But yeah, that's kind of my winter. And then during the spring, we have field work. So I'll usually get on a tractor and I'll go and till a field, or, do some things that way. Start getting irrigation ready, and, just spend the days to prepare ourselves so that we have a successful year. And it all starts with preparation throughout the spring, and we carry it through the summer, and then through the fall. It just depends on the day. Being on a farm, it really depends on the day. But yeah, long days, and every day is different.
How long have you guys had this dairy
farm?
farm?
I'm a fifth generation. My kids will be sixth if it keeps going.
That's awesome.
So it's my great-great-grandpa, Andrew, that started it. And then my grandpa, who lives in this red house, he's still going. He'll be 90 in July.
Wow.
Still runs the show, makes it, we make the decisions, but he wants to make sure he knows the decisions going on. Still runs the books.
Wow.
Everything like that. But his dad was killed, got bucked off a horse moving cattle.
Oh, man.
And in the hospital had a massive stroke and died after.
Oh, my gosh.
And then my grandpa bought it from his brothers when my grandpa was in his early 20s. His brothers didn't want to stick around and do the farming thing, and so he bought them out, and kind of went from there. But it's changed a lot. I think he started out, when he first went, he had a total of 50 acres.
Wow.
And we're about 2,000 now.
That's awesome.
And he was milking 16 cows, and he was the biggest dairy in the valley. It's 16 cows.
That's awesome.
In fact, where we do our calf, where we mix our milk and stuff, in behind so we used to milk in a flat bottom on the very end of that big red barn right there. It was a flat bottom. They milked right there. And then he was one of the first to put automated in.
Really?
And it was just, they come in single file, 2 on the side.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody said, "You are absolutely insane. Why would you put that kind of money in?"
Mm-hmm.
And started to grow from there. And then in 1980, we built our milk parlor, the current one we're in. So it's pretty old. We've updated the inside and everything. But 1980, we started that. And then we eventually built corrals on the other side. And we're milking just over 400 now.
Wow.
So
That's awesome.
It's quite the growth.
Yep. So there's me and my grandpa, and then I got my Uncle Kelly. He does all the feeding. Then my dad, he does all the manure hauling and corral scraping. And then the summer we all have just basically chip in and get all the crops in.
Right.
And then me. And then I got my cousin here that's driving the truck that's says he's full-time, but he works for about 3 hours in the morning and has weekends and holidays off. He's Kelly's boy.
Okay.
He's good help when I can get him here, and so there's just us full-time, and then we got a couple guys that help us milk that have been like 17, 18 years, which is hard to do.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's changed a ton though. I mean, even just in the last few years, like a pivot on this piece, we used to flood it with gated pipe that you'd poke holes in. And before that, it was ditches and siphon tubes, and we pack siphon tubes all the time on it, and it was a pain. And now you jump on your phone and you're irrigating. You know, that's my grandpa. Even my grandpa at 90 has the app. He struggles. I have to kind of help him out, but even him, he's like, I cannot believe from where I came from to what we're doing farming right now. Like to jump on your phone, and then if something's wrong, it calls you and says, hey, something's wrong with your pivot. He's just crazy. Like, when I had a flood stream or a ditch breakout and nobody called me, I just woke up or went out and it was a mess. You know, and so but it's fun. Like I think I've started drawing a check from the place when I was 8 years old.
Wow.
Feeding calves. I actually started feeding calves with my grandpa, and then moving pipe. I remember being a little tiny feller moving pipe, and you'd have to pick it clear up over top of your head just because you're walking through the barley and couldn't hardly handle. And then your boot would be back there and you're still walking. And, you know, I kind of wish in fact, my kids have all moved hand line. We used to have a hand line out on the highway because the wheel lines wouldn't get a section. So we'd move. It'd take us about a week to move some hand lines. And it's terrible with the mosquitoes and everything. And then, so I'd make my kids out. There is part of that I wish was still around, because it builds character when you're swatting mosquitoes and trying to
move pipe.
And then like all these barns, I mean, some little bells, we still put about 2,000 little bells up with little straw.
Nice.
This is more for our hutches. It's a lot easier to bed.
Yeah.
But I mean, summers was filled in this barn, and the barns, well, we didn't have the big hay shed, but me and my cousin, we'd get up on top of there, and we were stacking right to the rafters. You tried to get as much hay in here as you could. And you're this far from a tin roof, and it's 90 degrees outside, and you're just like, I want to just die. My kids don't have that, you know. I actually bell about 200 bells extra.
Okay.
And then so the bell wagon will hold 160, and so there's 40 or 50 bells on the field, and I'll make my kids go haul it, just because I'm kind of ignorant that way. And they're just, why do you just pick it up? I'm like, you'll be fine.
You'll be fine. That's awesome.
But now, I mean, so there was, where you guys live, that field right behind you, there's 37 acres of hay right there. When we'd bell little bells, it would take us about a 10-hour day with a bell wagon load to haul all that. Wow. We was there, we first got our baler. Jay Callie seen Dad pull into bell. And him and Carol went to town. They was gone for like 2 hours. When he got back, the field was empty.
Oh my gosh.
We had belled it and hauled it before he got back.
Oh my god.
And he come up and he stopped down and he's like, what just happened? I said, what do you mean? He goes, we left and you had part of it belled. We get back and it's completely gone.
That's crazy.
It's just unbelievable how things are now. But, you know, we can haul 150 acres of hay a day and not even break a sweat.
Wow.
My grandpa still wears gloves, but.
That's awesome.
I think the biggest challenge people don't see is the day-to-day. And, you know, a lot of people probably think the farmers are rolling in the dough, but it's a hard industry. You know, we work on supply and demand. And if we have a lot of supply, then the demand is not there. And so the prices can be manipulated that way. And so I think the day-to-day operations of what it takes, people don't see that, you know, early mornings, late nights, more than 40-hour a week is some of the things that make a farm operate that I don't think the outside people notice. Water and soil is a high commodity in the farming industry. Water, we try to conserve everything we can, but as far as efficiency, we went to better equipment and are watering better ways to irrigate so that we can conserve that and make water go farther for our crops. Technology is a big thing in the farming industry anymore. It's one of those things that you have to keep up with or you're going to get left behind. from our pivots to our milk machines to even our tractors and the way we farm with the GPS systems to make things more efficient. Technology is starting to be a huge role in agriculture.
I enjoyed doing it, but I guess what really changed my mind or set my direction is, as I was in junior high, my dad bought the farm and just said, nobody stays after school to my brothers, and we come home and work. And so that's what we did. I said, okay, we're here, we're committed, let's get to work. I think the biggest challenge is in farming, in my years of farming, it is, and we're in the dairy, is the roller coaster. When you think things are good, you better make sure you're paying your bills and putting a little away, because the roller coaster will go down to the bottom and you won't have the funds to meet your obligations if you don't save ahead of time. It's why it's that way. It's a shame, but it is what it is for me. And I've got enough years in it that I can't change. I just have to, I learned how to work through it. I think the land has been a blessing to till the earth and to put seeds in the ground and see the creation as life is, and the challenges that come with pesticides or drought or other weeds or other things. And you think you got to figure it out, and over time things keep coming different and that, and so it's a challenge, which, like our life, is a challenge, and we've always got to find the best way to nurture and get the best results. And I've enjoyed doing that and seeing that it takes some complete awareness of your soil and ground.
One trade-off that farmers face is crop yield versus the soil protection and keeping the soil, natural. So a big thing is, with a dairy farm, obviously we try to maximize our yields in order to feed our cows throughout the winter, because we never want to go into the winter with not enough feed or have to purchase a ton of feed, because we don't know what our profit's going to be next year. Prices are always fluctuating with dairy. And so the one trade-off is we can farm and have really good yields, but that takes natural or that takes different fertilizers and stuff. We can't let pests and stuff stay on the field very much, because it can really destroy a crop, and we have to fertilize it in order to be able to boost it enough to be able to get the crop yield that we need. And so we can either do that, or if we wanted to keep an organic field going, then we would way reduce our yields, and we wouldn't be able to get the crops that we need. And so, kind of as a dairy farm, we try to maximize our yields more than anything, but that is a trade-off, because we don't have the most organic products coming in, but it is enough to be able to sustain our cows throughout the winter, and that's the big important thing.
It's never the same. Start early, and so I usually have a day a week. I usually bed on Wednesdays, bed everything. This time of year, we do a lot of catch up, just because summer, as far as welding and fixing things that kind of gets neglected with the summer.
Mm-hmm.
Every day I'm in the barn for about an hour with our fresh cows. I milk the fresh cows and any other cows that need attention. Take care of all the cows. I don't know that there's anything that made me think it was meant to do. I think it was easy at first. At 8 years old, I was easy to get a job. And then, I left, went on a mission, and come home. I didn't have to go look for a job. I always felt like I had a job. I think the passion started to hit in my late teens when I started to gain some responsibility and some accountability. And then my passion for the livestock and the land, I think that's where it started. And so it just fed off of that. So when I got home, it was no brainer that that's what I wanted to do. Agriculture is more than the grocery store. I think a lot of people feel like we can just go to the grocery store and it's going to be provided, but I don't think they think outside the box. Where did that product come from? There's farmers and ranchers throughout the country, throughout the world that are putting that product into the grocery stores for us to consume. Like I said earlier, I think we need to understand as a people that where our food's coming from. If there's no food supply, then it's going to be a sad day. I think they need to understand, not only and appreciate, but be educated of farming and kind of make themselves aware of why farming and ranching is important, from the beef to the dairy to the crops, everything in between, of why it makes the whole economy stronger.
If you could tell one story that represents farming today, what would it be?
One story that represents farming? I think just being raised and working day to day with your family. Since I was a little kid, this is what I've done. I've worked with uncles, I've worked with my parents, I've worked with grandparents, cousins, and now I have the opportunity to work with my own kids. And I think the best stories I have is the memories that we have as a family, the good, bad, and the ugly of it, that's kept this place operating.
In the 80s and 90s, I went in and picked up my friend's land, and I was able to get them at a reasonable price per acre, and things worked out that I was able to get that ground and in a few years get it paid for. And nowadays, with the price of ground and the challenge of other people wanting to come in, I think the future is only able to protect the ground is passive from generation to generation that's willing to keep it farming. Because I've got grandsons that wants to go buy land and keep farming, but it's hard to farm it for what they want for the ground. Well, because in today's world, if you ain't efficient in your management and looking to improve and maximize your fuel efficiency and your crops to get the best return on your efforts, that's the only way it makes a little comfortable to make it. Because if you don't meet those responsibilities, you don't get the feed that you need.
How disconnected do you think people are from agriculture today?
I think it's evident that when we've had COVID, or when you have these severe events in other parts of the country, and they run to the grocery stores and empty the shelves, and they can't figure out why they just don't fill up that fast. And where's all this coming from? I think it's helped educate some people that there's a reason to have farming in your country and to help be sufficient. I mean, when I started, we was bucking bells by hand, moving sprinkler pipe by hand, and I had to hire some of my relatives, and that's all we did all summer is this and that. And now we are using equipment and bigger bells and that minimizes our physical body of breaking down and stuff. But I was too late in the game when all that come around.
Are you hopeful about the future of farming? Why or why not?
Well, can I say I'm hopeful? I'm hopeful, but in all reality, you live here in Benson. You might not know this, but there used to be 10, 15 dairies in Benson, running, milking dairies. There's 2 left, us and Richard Mon. And so what does that tell you? And a lot of people that said, well, I'll just run my ground and sell my commodity. Well, without the dairies, their commodities ain't worth what they was hoping to get. And so they're barely making ends meet. And so it's such a roller coaster because anybody that wants to come and give them a fair market value for their ground, they're willing to sell it because they know the commodities ain't going to pay for it. But it's just like dairy and beef prices get up to $2,000 a cow, and our milk's down to $14, $15. I don't know who's in charge or why, but you're wondering, why do you stay in it when you could sell your herd and be pretty good? So, I mean, you have to be committed. I guess I'm not saying you have to love it, but you got to be committed. And we've got enough ground in this area that I hope it passes from generation to generation. That's all I can hope for. To me, my whole life, this farming has been based around family. And from generation to generation, it's helped members of our family to understand what obligations are, time, how to be respectful of time, and committed to do the things that are asked. And it's just a joy to me. Right now I have great grandkids, and when they want to come to the farm and be on this farm, that's what we do it for. And you know what? My kids have turned out pretty good for saying the world is such a challenging place.
I should have went to college just in case, you know, the what if of life. And so I did go take a 6-month course in I'm a licensed appraiser for livestock, equine, and farm equipment. But I don't know that that's necessarily going to sustain a livelihood. But I haven't really pursued it either. I got certified and did a few cases, and that was it.
Yeah.
So.
Agriculture today is the backbone of America. Without it, we'd have no food. Many people wonder, where does our food come from? They think it just magically appears in the store. Well, I hope today you learn that it isn't true. If it weren't for our farmers, for the ones putting in the hours, the ones early in the morning and late at night, putting in the time to provide that food, to provide that resource for us to be able to live our daily lives, wouldn't be here. I think farming today is the future of tomorrow. If we do not make ourselves aware, really understand what farming is and why it is important, pretty soon we're going to live in a barren wasteland. And I think it is essential to really understand why we have farming today. And farmers, with the innovative technology and the improved efficiency in farming, we're more adaptable and able to fill the needs of our world today. Farming and agriculture has been a big part of my life, and without it, I wouldn't be who I am. And I think that as we become more aware, we'll be better able to really understand why we need it. If we didn't have the farmer who milked the cow every morning, we wouldn't have the milk and whatnot to grow our bodies, and those who cut the hay wouldn't be able to feed our cows. We wouldn't have the beef that we have. We wouldn't have the food supply that we need for our future. So as we move forward, we as a people need to be more aware and understanding of why agriculture and farming is important today. If we are able to support those farmers, support them by buying local beef, buying local milk, going to their dairies, going to their ranches, really become a part of the industry, we're able to take a stand. We are America and we are the future. And if we don't take that step forward, all we're going to be doing is going backward.
Sunrise on the Rio Grande, fields of green and golden sand. Farmers with a steady hand, working on this hallowed land. Long days in dusty boots, driving tractors, planting roots. They're the ones who bring us food, keeping all our dreams in bloom. From Amarillo down to Austin, cotton fields and cattle roaming. In their hearts this land's worth holding, all their stories worth the told. Sweat and toil beneath the sun, their hard work is never done. Through the seasons, rain or shine, they're the heroes of our time. Here's to the heart of Texas, to the farmers strong and true. With their hands they build the future for me and you. We're grateful for the bounty, for the fields so wide and free. To the workers of this country, you're the backbone of the dream.